Over the past few years, I've tested hundreds of AI tools. And quite honestly, most of them don't last very long. I'll use them for 1 week, maybe a month, and then they'll quietly disappear from my workflow. But every now and then, you'll find one that slowly replaces all 5 tools you used to use. And that's exactly what happened to me with HappyScribe. Not necessarily because it does one thing just incredibly well, but because I realized I was starting to use it throughout my entire working day. So let me show you what I mean. So I think most of you probably recognize HappyScribe through transcription. You upload a recording, get a transcript, pretty simple. But after a few weeks, I realized that's not why I kept opening it. The transcription actually isn't the destination, it's the starting point. Because once every conversation can become text, suddenly everything becomes a little bit easier. Let's take meetings for example. This is probably the most obvious one. Whether it's a Zoom call, a Google Meet, or even an in-person meeting using a mobile app, I'm no longer thinking about taking notes. I'm thinking about the conversation. Because I know when it's finished, I'll already have the transcript. And if somebody asks me next week, what did we actually agree on? I no longer have to remember, I can just search for it. And that completely changes how I approach meetings. And then there's content creation. And this is probably where I save the most time. Every interview I record, every podcast, every YouTube video ends up inside the same workspace. Now instead of watching an hour-long footage we're looking for one quote, I search for it. I need subtitles. It's done. Need to translate them. Done. Need to pull the best moment into a blog post or ask AI to write a social caption. Done. And that's all happening within the exact same transcript. Another thing I didn't expect is how often I use AI chat. Not to ask random questions, but to remove repetitive work. I'll finish an interview and instead of reading through 20 pages, I'll ask, what were the biggest talking points? Or give me the strongest quotes. Or write a follow-up email based on this meeting. The important thing is the AI already has the context because now everything already lives in one place. Then there are a few small things, the things that nobody really talks about. Searching through every meeting you've ever recorded. Teaching the platform your company's terminology with glossaries. Exporting directly into the format you need. Sharing transcripts with clients. And I know they're not necessarily features that make great YouTube thumbnails, but they're features that slowly become a part of your everyday workflow. And I think that's where the biggest difference is. I think the value compounds incredibly quickly because you're not buying transcription software anymore. You're buying a workflow. And I think that's a much more interesting way to think about productivity.